Etruscans? Are they art traders, art looters, or do they steal artistic intellectual capital
Great
for
question.
profit? Sarah, let's switch over to you for the answers.
Sounds good. Good morning, everyone. So this art talk will be as I think it was Sam mentioned, it'll be a little art and a little history as well. So between the 8th and the 1st century BCE, the Etruscans flourished in the region of present-day Tuscany, so bordered by the Arno and the Tiber rivers. They descended from the Villanovans, who occupied northern and central Italy around 1000 to 720 BCE. And communities in Etruria practiced distinctive religious rituals and customs and spoke a language unlike those of their Mediterranean neighbors. So brief inscriptions have been translated, but no lengthy texts survived. So not much is known about their language. However, we do know that they used symbols similar to that of ancient Greek language. And reconstructing Etruscan history depends largely on excavations of settlements and cemeteries. So part of the history is the art. Etruscan towns and prominent families grew very wealthy because of trade with the Celtics in the north and the Greeks in the south, the main export being iron ore. Trade and immigration fostered the production of exceptional sculpture, wall painting, pottery, and metalwork. So the prosperous society that emerged really blended Italian cultural traditions with Greek forms of artistic expression. And in the late 4th century BCE, the Roman-Etruscan Wars began and thus led to the assimilation into Roman culture and eventually the demise of the Etruscans. So the Etruscans were well known for their pottery, which was typically made from two materials, impasto and bucero. So impasto is a coarse form of pottery made from clay that contains chips of mica. In its soft form, impasto clay can range from red to brown, but after it's fired, its surface becomes dark and glossy, but you can see that it's still more brown than the bucero. It was first used by the Villanovan civilization, which preceded the Etruscans, and the Etruscans used impasto for basic pottery, such as storage jars, cooking pots, as well as urns. And artists decorated the vessels with different geometric designs, as well as stylized images of humans and animals. Bucero pottery was developed around 675 BCE. This was an Etruscan invention. It was created from a fine clay fired to produce a glossy black surface. And a finished bucero surface imitated the appearance of metal. The Etruscans produced a variety of objects such as plates, chalices, vases, and pitchers from bucero, demonstrating a real versatility of the material. And while it's less expensive than metal, it was still considered a luxury item and was exported to the Mediterranean. And bucero goods have been found as far east as Egypt and Syria. This unique surviving Etruscan wooden head dates to about the late 7th century BCE, and it's from a funeral urn originally found in Chiusi, Italy. And other similar heads have been found from the same region, and it's assumed that they once topped canopic urns for their so-called resemblance to the Egyptian jars of the same name, which held mummified organs. Most that survived were made of ceramic or bronze, since wood doesn't usually survive in archaeological records, so it makes this one very unique. You can see a small trace of surviving gilding on the chin, and this head most likely had eyes also applied in bone and amber that have since worn away. And based on Etruscan standards of gender representation for the time, this head has likely been identified as a woman. So the pierced ears, there's also traces of a long hairstyle that are the primary clues to that. And the original context for this head was destroyed. However, when comparing this piece to similar burial styles, the wooden head mounted on a bronze urn might have looked something like this. The sarcophagus of the spouses. This was made from painted terracotta and was found in the ancient Etruscan city of Caere, which is now Cerveteri, Italy. The body of the sarcophagus is built to resemble a dining couch. So both figures have highly stylized hair and accessories such as the cap and shoes on the woman. And the rounded, serene faces and treatment of the hairstyles would have fit in with contemporary Greek styles. However, the posing of the figures, the angular joints of the limbs, their extended fingers and toes, reflect local practice in Etruria. And this scene has been interpreted as belonging to a banqueting scene, with the couple reclining together on a single dining couch while eating and drinking. And in the case of this sarcophagus, it's also important to note that at Etruscan banquets, men and women reclined and ate together. It's a circumstance that was quite different from other Mediterranean cultures, especially the Greeks. Women enjoyed a different and more privileged status in Etruscan society than their Greek and Roman counterparts. The area of Italy that was home to the Etruscan civilization is rich in volcanic rocks, which meant lots of media for sculptures that are made through carving and chiseling. So similar to Greek centaur sculptures of this period, the centaur of Volci appears to depict a standing human with a stylized horse-like body emerging from the back. And unlike the Greek centaurs, this sculpture was produced without a tail. The centaur's hair falls in stylized plaits like its Greek counterparts. The style of braids, however, appears less like beads, as seen in Greek sculptures, and more like twisted piles of rope, which was unique to the Etruscans. So early Etruscans created ritual spaces in groves and enclosures open to the sky with these sacred boundaries carefully marked through ritual ceremony. But around 600 BCE, the desire to create more monumental structures for the gods spread throughout Etruria, most likely as a result of Greek influence. And so the Etruscan temples have largely vanished since they were mostly built with ephemeral materials. But the painted terracotta of this Etruscan Apollo survived, and it's thought that it once adorned the rooftop of the Porto Nocchio temple. This temple was dedicated to the goddess of Minerva and was located in Veii, Italy. He stands at 5 feet 11 inches tall, so very lifelike in size. And he almost has a mischievous appearance with stylized hair and very impressive and intricate drapery. As one of the best known pieces of Etruscan sculpture to survive from antiquity, the Chimera of Arezzo was discovered near the Porta San Laurentino of Arezzo, Italy in 1553. The Chimera was a legendary fire-breathing monster of Greek mythology, so you can see the inspiration of Greek culture. And typically the monster was a hybrid, often shown with elements from more than one animal incorporated into the whole. Most chimeras often include a lion's head with a goat rising from its back and a snake's tail. On the right foreleg, there's an inscription in Etruscan language which reads, "Offering belonging to Tinia." So this indicates that the statue was a votive object offered as a gift to the sky god Tinia. The Mars of Todi is an inscribed Etruscan bronze statue dating from the late 5th or early 4th century BCE, and it was discovered in 1835 on the slopes of Mount Santo near Todi. The statue measures 4 feet 8 inches in height, so it's nearly life-size, but the warrior is likely an object dedicated to Laren, the Etruscan god of war. So dressed in this intricately worked plate armor, the figure takes a contrapposto stance. So that indicates that the Etruscan artist who made this statue was aware of these kind of formal elements of classical style of sculpture. The bronze statue bears an inscription on the skirt, which reads, "Ahal Trutides gave this as a gift." This is the painted terracotta sarcophagus of Seanti Hanunia Tlesnasa, quite the name. She was a noblewoman of a prominent family of ancient Chiusi, and she reclines on a mattress and pillow, holding an open-lidded mirror in her left hand and raising her right hand to adjust her mantle. This is dated between 150 and 140 BCE, so this has definitely more Roman influences as this was towards the end of the Etruscans. The Stoic bronze sculpture of the Orator dates to the late 2nd or early 1st century BCE, and it serves as one of the last surviving examples of Etruscan sculpture. Identified as the Etruscan senator Aulus Metellus, this sculpture offers a life-size depiction of the magistrate. He's draped in a narrow-fitting toga, and he also wears the calcaeus senatorius, which was a type of boot made of red leather worn only by senators and magistrates. And the sculpture exudes old Roman Republican values and reflects the attempt of the Etruscan senator to really integrate himself into Roman high society. He's clean shaven, he's got this Roman haircut, and he stands in this contrapposto pose with his right arm outstretched as if mid-speech. The inscription at the bottom of his toga reads, "To Auli Metelli, the son of Vel and Vessi, set up this statue as a votive offering to Sans by deliberation of the people." So revealing his Etruscan name as Auli Metelli, it also suggests that he had this sculpture produced as a votive offering to a local Etruscan god. So it's Etruscan and it's also Roman at the same time. But some scholars have argued that this was an honorary statue intended for public viewing, not for the pleasure of the gods. Found at Lake Trasimeno in 1566, the sculpture eventually was passed on to the Museo Archeologico Nazionale in Florence, where it now resides. And an inspiration to future Roman art, it reflects the gradual Romanization of native cultures during this time. And finally, we'll end on a Roman sculpture. According to Roman mythology, the city's twin founders, Romulus and Remus, were abandoned on the banks of the Tiber River when they were infants. A she-wolf saved their lives by letting them suckle. And so the image of this miracle quickly became the symbol of the city of Rome, appearing on coins in the 3rd century BCE and continuing to appear on public monuments from trash cans to lampposts in the city, even to this day. But the most famous image of the she-wolf and the twins may not be ancient at all, at least not entirely. So while it was known for some time that the twins are Renaissance additions to the sculpture, it wasn't until 2006, actually, that the chronology of the she-wolf itself was challenged. So long believed to date to the 5th century BCE, Rome was still a fairly small city and possibly had not yet begun using the she-wolf and twins as its symbol. So new laboratory analysis suggests that the she-wolf is not ancient and was actually made in the Middle Ages. So this generated a lot of controversy among scholars of ancient Rome, and physical and chemical testing on the bronze have been inconclusive about the date. So the Etruscans can sometimes get forgotten or a little overshadowed by their more famous neighboring empires, but I hope you all enjoyed an overview on Etruscan art.
Thank you, Sarah.